So, as the situation continues to evolve, the US, Canada, and the UK find themselves at crossroads. The surge in undocumented crossings at the northern border and the spike in asylum claims by Indian nationals in the UK are forcing all three countries to reconsider their immigration policies and their responses to these complex challenges.
You've heard about the border crisis. You've seen the debates on TV. But what most people don't realize is just how many undocumented immigrants are living in the U.S. and where they're coming from. According to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and the latest Pew Research Center analysis, over 11 million undocumented immigrants are currently in the United States. While the spotlight is often on the southern border, the truth is that these immigrants are coming from far more countries than you might expect. Today on Globe Discoveries, we're breaking down the top 10 countries where illegal immigrants in the U.S. are coming from, and the numbers might just blow your mind. And before we get started, don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on more engaging content. Number 10. India. In recent years, illegal immigration from India to the U.S. has surged dramatically. Many are escaping high unemployment, religious tensions, and political instability, making the long and treacherous journey through Central America and Mexico. According to U.S. Customs and Border Protection (CBP), more than 96,000 Indians were apprehended at the U.S.-Mexico border in 2023, a record-breaking figure. Many Indian migrants fly to South America, then travel northward through the Darien Gap, one of the most dangerous jungle crossings in the world. The cost of this journey can range from $20,000 to $50,000, often paid to smugglers promising safe passage. Reports indicate that many fall victim to kidnapping, extortion, and even death along the way. The U.S. has recently tightened its scrutiny on Indian asylum claims, with many being denied entry upon arrival. However, as conditions in India remain uncertain, thousands continue making the journey every year. In 2024, Indian migrants became the second largest group crossing the U.S.-Mexico border after Latin Americans. With India's growing economic divide, the migration trend shows no signs of slowing down. Many migrants are well educated but see no opportunities for upward mobility back home. This has led to a rise in visa overstays, with Indians ranking among the top nationalities who remain in the U.S. illegally. Unless economic stability improves, the influx of Indian migrants attempting to enter the U.S. will likely continue. The Biden administration has recently discussed stricter vetting of Indian asylum seekers. But for now, thousands continue attempting the journey each year. Number 9. Brazil. Brazil, the largest country in South America, is facing worsening economic conditions and increasing crime, pushing more migrants to seek opportunities abroad. In 2021 alone, over 56,000 Brazilians were apprehended at the U.S.-Mexico border, a significant jump from previous years. Many take advantage of visa-free access to Mexico to enter legally before crossing illegally into the U.S. The decline of Brazil's economy, coupled with rising gang violence, has made life difficult for many citizens. Poverty rates have increased, with 30% of Brazilians now living below the poverty line. As job opportunities shrink, the number of young, working-age Brazilians heading north is growing rapidly. Most Brazilian migrants travel through Mexico, where they meet smugglers known as coyotes to help them cross into the U.S. However, this journey comes at a steep price, with some paying up to $15,000 for safe passage. Unfortunately, many fall victim to human trafficking or get stranded in dangerous border towns. Unlike many Latin American migrants, Brazilians rarely seek asylum, as economic hardship alone is not a qualifying reason. Instead, they overstay visas or attempt illegal entry at remote border crossings. The U.S. has responded with deportation flights, but numbers continue to climb. As Brazil's economic crisis worsens, migration to the U.S. will likely increase further in 2024. Without major policy changes, thousands more Brazilians will continue attempting to enter the U.S. through legal and illegal means. Number 8. Colombia. Colombia, once a country overshadowed by drug cartels and civil unrest, has seen a massive rise in illegal migration to the U.S. in recent years. Over 50,000 Colombians were apprehended at the U.S.-Mexico border in 2023, a sharp increase from previous years. Many cite economic struggles, gang violence, and political corruption as reasons for fleeing. Despite economic improvements, poverty remains high. with 33% of the population classified as poor, compared to 36.6% in 2022 and 39.7% in 2021. And there was an important progress in closing some poverty gaps. Many areas, especially rural regions, still suffer from the influence of armed groups and drug trafficking organizations. As instability grows, thousands of Colombians continue looking for opportunities in the U.S. Most Colombian migrants enter via Ecuador, which does not require visas for Colombians. From there, they trek through the treacherous Darien Gap before reaching Mexico. Smuggling networks charge between $5,000 and $10,000 for the full journey, often exploiting desperate travelers. While many seek asylum, acceptance rates for Colombians remain low, as U.S. authorities deem them economic migrants rather than refugees. Deportations have risen significantly, but that hasn't stopped thousands from trying their luck each year. Many take seasonal work opportunities, hoping to stay in the country permanently. As long as economic and security concerns persist in Colombia, migration numbers will likely remain high throughout 2024. Without structural changes, the cycle of illegal migration from Colombia to the U.S. will continue. Number 7. Venezuela. Venezuela has been in economic freefall for nearly a decade, forcing millions of its citizens to flee. As of 2024, over 7.7 million Venezuelans have left their home country, with a growing number making their way to the U.S. In 2023, U.S. border authorities encountered over 260,000 Venezuelan migrants, the highest of any South American country. Hyperinflation, food shortages, and a collapsing healthcare system have made living conditions unbearable. The minimum wage in Venezuela is just $3 per month, making survival nearly impossible. With no sign of improvement, thousands continue to seek refuge in the U.S. Most Venezuelan migrants cross through the Darien Gap, then travel north through Central America to reach the U.S. Many use Mexico's humanitarian visa program as a temporary stop before heading to the border. However, U.S. authorities have begun deportation flights for the first time in years. While some Venezuelans qualify for asylum, many do not meet the criteria under current U.S. law. In 2023, the Biden administration granted temporary protected status (TPS) to 472 Venezuelans, allowing them to remain legally. However, new arrivals face uncertainty as U.S. policies shift. With no end in sight to Venezuela's crisis, migration to the U.S. will likely remain high in 2024 and beyond. As long as the economy crumbles and political instability continues, Venezuelans will keep searching for a way out. Number 6. Honduras. Honduras has become a significant source of unauthorized immigrants to the United States. Economic instability, rampant violence, and political turmoil drive many Hondurans to seek safety and better opportunities abroad. The perilous journey through Central America and Mexico underscores their desperation. In recent years, the number of Honduran nationals apprehended at the U.S. southern border has surged. According to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, over 200,000 Hondurans were encountered at the border in fiscal year 2022. This marks a significant increase from previous years, highlighting the escalating crisis in Honduras. The U.S. government has responded with a combination of enforcement and humanitarian measures. While border security has been tightened, there are also programs aimed at addressing the root causes of migration from Honduras. These initiatives focus on improving economic conditions and reducing violence in the region. Honduran migrants often face significant challenges upon arrival in the U.S., including legal hurdles and integration into new communities. Many seek asylum, citing credible fears of persecution in their home country. However, the U.S. asylum system is burdened with backlogs, leading to prolonged uncertainty for applicants. Addressing unauthorized immigration from Honduras requires a multifaceted approach. Collaborative efforts between the U.S. and Honduran governments are essential to create conditions that reduce the impetus for migration. This includes economic development, anti-corruption measures, and initiatives to curb violence in Honduras. Number 5. Guatemala. Guatemala stands as a significant source of unauthorized immigrants in the United States. Pervasive poverty, violence, and political instability drive many Guatemalans to embark on the arduous journey northward. The hope for safety and economic opportunity in the U.S. serves as a powerful motivator. Recent data indicates that Guatemalans make up a considerable segment of the unauthorized immigrant population in the U.S. The Migration Policy Institute estimates that approximately 815,000 unauthorized Guatemalan immigrants were residing in the U.S. as of 2019. This trend has significant implications for U.S. immigration policy and border management. In response, the U.S. has implemented a range of strategies aimed at managing this migration flow. These include enhanced border security measures and partnerships with Guatemalan authorities to address the root causes of migration. Efforts focus on economic development and violence prevention within Guatemala. Guatemalan immigrants in the U.S. often encounter numerous challenges, including legal obstacles and difficulties in accessing social services. Many seek asylum, presenting claims of persecution and violence in their homeland. The U.S. asylum system, however, faces significant backlogs, resulting in prolonged periods of uncertainty for applicants. Addressing unauthorized immigration from Guatemala necessitates a comprehensive approach. Collaborative efforts between the U.S. and Guatemalan governments are crucial to improve living conditions in Guatemala. This includes initiatives aimed at economic development, strengthening governance, and reducing violence to mitigate the factors driving migration. Number 4. El Salvador. El Salvador is a notable contributor to the unauthorized immigrant population in the United States. Chronic violence, economic instability, and political challenges compel many Salvadorans to seek refuge in the U.S. The journey north is fraught with peril, yet the prospect of safety and opportunity continues to draw individuals and families. Data from the Migration Policy Institute indicates that Salvadorans represent a significant portion of unauthorized immigrants in the U.S. Approximately 1.2 million unauthorized Salvadoran immigrants were residing in the U.S. as of 2019. This demographic trend has important implications for U.S. immigration policy and humanitarian considerations. The U.S. government has adopted a multifaceted approach to manage this migration. This includes strengthening border security and collaborating with Salvadoran authorities to address the underlying causes of migration. Efforts are directed toward improving economic conditions and reducing violence in El Salvador. Salvadoran immigrants often face significant challenges upon arrival in the U.S., including legal obstacles and integration into new communities. Many apply for asylum, citing credible fears of persecution and violence in their home country. However, the U.S. asylum system is currently overwhelmed, leading to extended waiting periods and uncertainty for applicants. Addressing unauthorized immigration from El Salvador requires comprehensive strategies. Collaborative efforts between the U.S. and Salvadoran governments are essential to improve conditions in El Salvador. This includes initiatives focused on economic development, violence reduction, and strengthening governance to mitigate the factors driving migration. Number 3. Ecuador. Ecuador has seen a massive increase in illegal immigration to the U.S. in recent years, largely due to economic instability, rising crime, and lack of job opportunities. Many Ecuadorians, especially young adults and families, are leaving their home country in record numbers, hoping to find better wages and safety in the U.S. The situation has worsened with the rise of violent drug cartels, making life increasingly dangerous for many. According to U.S. Customs and Border Protection (CBP), nearly 100,000 Ecuadorians were apprehended at the U.S.-Mexico border in 2023, a significant increase from previous years. Ecuador's economic struggles, including high inflation and a weak job market, have left many unable to provide for their families. Additionally, crime rates have soared, with the murder rate in 2023 hitting the highest levels in the country's history, making it one of the most dangerous places in South America. Unlike other Latin American migrants, many Ecuadorians do not require a visa to enter Mexico, allowing them to legally fly in before making the dangerous trek to the U.S. border. This has created a booming smuggling industry, where migrants pay up to $15,000 to human traffickers who promise safe passage. However, many fall victim to kidnappings, extortion, or deadly conditions along the way. With Ecuador's economic crisis deepening and gang violence escalating, illegal migration is expected to remain high in 2024. Unless major changes are made, Ecuadorians will continue risking everything to seek a better future in the United States. Number 2. Cuba.
Cuba has been a significant source of unauthorized migration to the U.S. for decades.
With numbers surging in recent years, the economic downturn, political repression, and lack of basic freedoms have pushed thousands of Cubans to take extreme risks to reach the U.S. Many arrive by sea or through South and Central America, taking advantage of changing immigration policies. According to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, over 220,000 Cubans were encountered at the U.S.-Mexico border in 2023, a record-breaking number. This migration wave was fueled by worsening economic conditions and increased crackdowns on dissent under the Cuban government. The situation has led to a dramatic rise in sea crossings, with many attempting to reach Florida on makeshift rafts. Unlike migrants from other Latin American countries, many Cubans qualify for special immigration protections under the Cuban Adjustment Act. This law allows them to apply for residency after 1 year in the U.S., making their migration more appealing. However, recent policy shifts have made it harder for Cubans to gain automatic entry, leading to more dangerous crossings. The U.S. has increased repatriation flights for Cuban migrants, signaling a shift in immigration enforcement. In January 2024, the Biden administration announced an expansion of legal pathways to reduce unauthorized crossings. Despite this, many Cubans continue to attempt the journey, seeking better economic prospects and freedom. With inflation skyrocketing and food shortages worsening in Cuba, the U.S. expects continued waves of migration in 2024. Unless conditions improve on the island, the influx of Cuban migrants will remain a major challenge for U.S. border authorities. Number 1. Mexico. Mexico has consistently been the largest source of unauthorized immigrants in the U.S. for decades. With millions living in the U.S. without legal status, migration from Mexico is deeply tied to economic opportunities, family reunification, and escaping cartel violence. Although numbers declined in the 2010s, recent years have seen an increase in illegal border crossings. According to CBP data, over 600,000 Mexicans were apprehended at the U.S. southern border in 2023, making them the largest group attempting illegal entry. Many cross through desert routes or rely on smugglers known as coyotes, risking their lives in search of better wages. While some attempt to claim asylum, most Mexican migrants are considered economic migrants, making it harder to gain legal status. The end of Title 42 in May 2023 led to an increase in crossings as migrants anticipated changes in U.S. immigration policy. Additionally, cartel violence in states like Michoacan and Guerrero has pushed more families to flee, seeking safety in the U.S. The combination of economic hardship and security concerns continues to drive migration at record levels. The U.S. has increased deportation flights for Mexican nationals, while also expanding work visa programs to encourage legal migration. However, many still opt for unauthorized crossings, as jobs in agriculture, construction, and service industries remain in high demand. As long as wage disparities exist between the U.S. and Mexico, migration flows are unlikely to slow down. Illegal immigration to the U.S. is driven by a mix of economic hardship, violence, political instability, and hope for a better life. While policies and enforcement change, the fundamental reasons people leave their home countries remain the same. Each year, hundreds of thousands risk everything to make it to the U.S., despite the dangers. What do you think about these migration trends? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and explore our channel for more global insights. Thanks for watching.